Hey guys, hey, it's Matthew. We're starting Project 3. This is the video lecture tutorial that goes along with Project 3. There's a typo actually on this page. It says 12% here, but it's actually more like 36% progress. But that would include you guys working on precedent research. So looking at some really good, strong examples that are existing online for an artist website or for a graphic design firm website, dependent on your professional goals, really. And that can broaden out to many different types of creative websites, however you envision yourself, moving forward, perhaps 5 years or maybe even just 2 years down the road. 5 years is actually a real long time in the trajectory of a designer or an artist. That's one thing that I've realized, is that the time really kind of moves quickly. So you have to be very diligent about being productive. So that being said, this course is all about productivity and learning by doing. If you're not on the back end of WordPress doing these things and trying these things, again, with that measured caution that I had mentioned in a previous lecture, then you're just not going to get what you need to get out of this class. And it's so important for essentially for getting that job and for sharing your work with the world so that you can attain those, I would say, self-established goals, okay, so that you can manage your career. I know that we talked about website architecture during Project 2, but I believe that this article right here can be really valuable moving forward in establishing or reinforcing the importance of website architecture. And, websites are all about images as well, and getting the right documentation to really kind of showcase what you do. So obviously that's really important as well. And then this just reinforces that HTML and CSS static websites are a thing of the past, and we're moving forward. And this article itself is actually dated now, and it's talking about content management systems like WordPress, Joomla, et cetera, et cetera. But WordPress really still is king of the hill. Okay, it's king of the mountain. And so we're still on the right path using that content management system. Again, this is more like 36% progress, because this class is moving very, very quickly. All right. So without further ado, let's just kind of dive into it. I'm just going to sort of walk organically through this idea of creating a page, but also taking a look at the home page. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to do is, let's take a look at the home page. And by the way, this is exactly the way that your initial install on WordPress arrived to you with this specific template, okay? And so all of this should be verbatim to what you're seeing, assuming that, like perhaps down the road, 2-3 years down the road, if I'm still teaching this class at Diné College, I might use a different template. But again, once you learn one template and you gain some confidence with the WordPress backend, you can sort of just tinker on the back end and follow your intuition to figure things out. That's really like the primary goal, because I want you to be able to just feel like you can not even just use a Rocket theme template, but perhaps find other templates online, download them, install them, and make them work for yourself or whatever particular client that you're contracted with. So the front page has all these sort of generic background images right now. It has generic text, has a generic menu. It doesn't even have a proper logo. I mean, this is just bare bones, but I see a lot of potential here. Okay. And so in order to access the back end of this website regarding images, what I like to do, usually when I start a template, what I really like to do is I actually go on the hosting backend, which is this sort of thing right here. And what I do is I try to find the image folder that is associated with the theme. And I basically download all of those images. I place them on my desktop temporarily. And then I go through and I try to diagrammatically label them with specific colors. Okay, and you'll see what I mean here in a moment. That basically gives me a way to identify the images that are already inside of this template, but it also allows me to see the actual pixel dimensions of these images and what the theme is working with. Because if you're not aware of pixel dimensions for these guys, you could run into some hot water. So it's just a good place to start, okay? And so I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to go on the back end and just kind of look around. And this is one of those intuitive things. So I got to plug into GD13. There's that folder, and these are all the student installs, and this is the install that I'm going to be working with. And again, you guys don't have hosting backend access. So I'm kind of showing you something right now that you can't necessarily do from your perspective currently. But again, I'm dreaming big for you all. I think that you guys should all start thinking about getting your own hosting account, your own domain, and just sort of diving into the deep end. You guys don't, walking into the shallow end, where it's knee deep water, that's fine. It's okay, but at some point you're going to have to do a cannonball and jump into the deep end, okay? And so this is the website install that we're currently looking at over here. That's it, okay? These are all the files. And let's just kind of bomb around. There's WP or WordPress admin, and then there is an images folder. But believe it or not, these are not theme images. This is more like standard WordPress imagery. So that's actually not what we're looking for, although the folder is called images. We're looking for a folder called theme, or a place called theme. And so we got to look around a little bit. And here I just clicked on WP content. And then there's also right here, there's a folder called themes. So I'm going to click on that. And what do you know? There's our rocket theme _ fluent. Okay, and remember, this is the fluent theme. So I can click on that. And here is a lot of stuff, including the gantry. The real foundation of this theme is gantry. So there's that folder, a very important folder. But here is a folder called images. Yeah, okay, I think we're in the right place. And so I basically want to keep the exact same file path structure for this images folder. So what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to drag this images folder to my desktop. And it'll actually transfer. There it goes. Very quickly. It's taking literally 15 seconds. Almost there. And so if I look at my desktop, there's that folder, and now it's saying complete. So we're in a good place to go ahead and take a look at what's going on here and start kind of labeling these diagrammatically. I'm just kind of curious to see how this is going to work. All right, and look, if I take a look at these images, I can get info, and it's actually even going to tell me, look, 1200 by 690. That's really important information to know. But I need to know where these guys are actually sitting in relation to some of these sample pages or the front page of the website specifically. So I think you guys kind of get a sense of what I'm doing here. I'm basically sort of reverse engineering this website. I'm trying to familiarize myself with what's going on. And by the way, again, you guys won't have access to this particular back end of the website, but that doesn't mean that you can't learn from my video and take some notes about which images are where and what dimensions they are, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and start with that. It's not the most exciting process, but it's also a reason to maybe kind of show you guys, how how a little bit of Photoshop or a photo editing program is useful when you're doing web development. Okay, so I'm just launching Photoshop real quick. So there's that sample images. And again, I opened all of them, so all 6 of them are loaded. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to choose a color. It could be an obnoxious color. It does not matter right now. Okay. Use my brush tool. Need to blow this brush tool up quite a bit so I can work efficiently, because I'm going to make all of these main images this kind of dark magenta. Okay. So this should move pretty quickly. Save. And you guys, this is a little bit tedious. Hold on, folks. Mistake happens, right? And this is just so I can diagrammatically see things. I think very, very visually. And so it'll get confusing if you see all of these images with the same generic sample image background. For me, it's easier if I can see things in color. Now, there are ways to swap these images out later through the WordPress backend. So I don't want you guys to think that you have to have access to the hosting background in order to make this happen. So let's see, let's go back to images here. Those are the images that I just modified. I'm actually going to delete that folder. And then I'm going to go into the ones that I just corrected or added some color to, and I'm going to add those. Okay, it's the same file path. The name of the images is the same. Nothing has changed. It's just a simple sleight of hand, quote unquote, card trick that I just did, because the computer and the hosting, they think that the images are the same. But in fact, let's see here. I may have to come in and have to clear my history, unfortunately. Clear browsing data. Yeah, because right now the old images are most likely still in the cache memory of the browser. So I'm going to have to clear the data. And in theory, and this is part of that troubleshooting thing I'm always talking about, things should work. Okay, so yeah. Now, that's just one image. We modified 5 or 6 of them, but it only affected that one image. But now we know that that one image is actually this large background, okay? So that we're connecting some dots here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pause. I'll do one more, just, because some folks might be learning just how to do basic things in Photoshop. So those were the main images, and look at, there's 6 of them, but only one of the images really made a change. That's okay. Let's try making some changes to these guys now. And these are the slideshow images. I'm going to use a different color because obviously they have to look a little different. Just going to use a plain red. And all I'm doing is just using the brush tool in Photoshop right now. If you don't have Photoshop, you can find online browser-based versions of photo editing software that's free. If you're a graphic design major, you need Adobe stuff installed. But I'm also aware that some folks taking this class might be in the painting program. Or someone just online might be watching this class, and they might be wondering how they can modify some of their photos, crop them, make sure that they're the correct pixel dimensions, etc. So even if you don't have Adobe Photoshop, there are options out there. You just got to go out there and find them. Okay, so we've modified the slideshow images. We're going to do the same thing. On the hosting, we're going to delete that file folder. And just replace it like nothing has changed. And now we're going to go to the front end of the site, hit Command R for refresh. Notice how nothing changed, because this image is actually in the cached memory of the browser. So I have to go in here again. It's kind of a pain, but just trust me. And I have to clear the cache. It's a little bit of a pain in particular because you might have to re-input some of your passwords and that kind of thing. We should be seeing a change here. That's strange. I'm not seeing the change. Okay. Oh. Okay, well, that didn't make a big difference on the front end. I think if we were to go to maybe another page, we'll see it. Yeah, there it is. There's that red. So now we know on the default about page that's associated with the template, those red images are here. Okay, so again, we're connecting the dots. But what I'm really interested in is I'm trying to figure out this this image on the front page. So we got to do a little more research. And of course, there's a whole entire folder called home. And I'm willing to bet that this image right here, that's the one that we want to change. And this avatar image right there. Okay, so I'm going to open those 2 puppies up. I'm going to choose a different color. And notice how they only gave me 1 slider image. That's okay. Save it. And I'm going to use a slightly different green for this one. Okay, now let's go back, do this one more time. This is kind of fun, right? Slideshow. And remember, there are those 2 images that we're about to replace. But we need to delete the old folder and put the new folder back. Now, try this one more time. I wonder if we just hit refresh, it'll work. No, we have to come in and clear that browser history. So I'm kind of doing this incrementally. I think if I were doing this on my own, I would actually go in and select all of, just go in and modify all of these images at once, and then update it. And by the way, I am going to just be sending you these images so that yeah, you can essentially kind of refer back to the video and you can see what images or what colors, and then you can open up these images. For example, if you want to know the dimensions of the slider on the front, I'm going to send you these images, and all you have to do is open them up and get info. And you'll know that, for example, that front slider image is 1200 by 690. Okay, so if you make new images to upload, you know what dimensions they need to be. Very, very important. 1200 by 690, 72 DPI. Okay, and remember, like we know the computer screen is 72 pixels per square inch. That's just standard. And so when you export for web, when you create a graphic and export for web, making sure that it's 72 DPI and that everything fits. Remember, math is really important to all this stuff. Making sure that the math is right is very, very important. So let's see if this did it. That's just getting a little frustrating, isn't it? Okay. Well, I think what I'm going to do now, you guys kind of get the gist of it. I'm going to go in, I'm going to change all of those images. I'm going to hit pause, and then I'll be right back. Okay, guys, so you can kind of see I've done some busy work on the back end with Photoshop. I've opened up a lot of these images and given them a little bit of diagrammatic color. Next thing I need to do is I actually need to come over and I'm going to delete this entire images folder from this location on the hosting backend. It's no big deal because I'm just going to replace it, right? And I'm hoping that this will kind of give us some diagrammatic clues as to what images go where. And furthermore, knowing what image goes where means that we can look at that particular image and look at the information associated with that image regarding pixel dimensions, 510 by 340 for that one, for example. Okay, so we do need to go check our work, right? So again, the usual drill, show history, clear browsing data. We want to get rid of the cached images. And now let's see how things are going to look at this point. Boy, they are not making it easy, are they? Okay, that red one worked. What about the portfolio page? Okay, so we're running into some walls here, guys. Hmm. It's really bothering me. Ah. So guys, I just discovered why I believe things weren't quite working as the plan. And this can be a little bit tricky finding the right content because it can get a little convoluted on the back end here. So, but under WordPress content, there's themes and then RT underscore fluent. And then I did find this images page, and that's what I was updating. But actually, if I back up and go to uploads, I have a feeling that where it says Rocket Launcher, we're familiar with that. We click on Rocket Launcher. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna edit these photos and see what kind of a change occurs. So this is just the trials and tribulations of web development and kind of thinking on your feet, which is what makes it fun. It's a lot of problem solving. So I'm going to download this. Oops, put that on my desktop. Let's try a different approach here because I think that this step is actually quite important for you guys as you're growing with WordPress abilities. Give it a second. Now let's try making some changes here to these images, and I'm pretty sure that this should solve our problems. And again, all I'm doing is I'm just kind of adding some diagrammatic color to these guys so that I can see what's going on. Keep that green. And all I'm doing is I'm in Photoshop or photo editing application, and I'm just using the brush tool real quick. I'm just choosing some different colors and just diagrammatically labeling these. No big deal. It can be a little bit tedious, but maybe sometimes tedious with these instructional videos is good. Photoshop is not rocket science, guys. It's pretty easy. So we've got those adjusted. I think here's that slideshow that I'm very interested in giving some new life. And because it's a different location on the site, I'm going to be using a different color. I'm going to be hitting pause so I can go through and make all these changes. I think you guys get the idea of what's going on, but you don't need to watch me use the brush tool for 10 minutes. So BRB.
I was getting ready to do some painting work, but I'm gonna record another video tutorial. Well, I turned it off because I was talking to my students, but I paused it for a minute. How's your foot? Did they stab it? What? Did they stab it?
Okay, guys, so I think we're in a position where we can see the changes that we were looking for on the front page of the website. So here is that rocket launcher folder with things kind of organized. So you can see I've given these guys some color. That's going to be helpful, as we'll see in a moment. So I'm going to go back to the back end, and I've modified all the contents of this folder. So now I just need to delete it. And I need to place it back exactly as it was, a sleight of hand, almost sort of magic trick. Okay. Give it a second. Now we'll be able to I think, see a little bit more clearly why we were not seeing the changes. If we've gotten to the root of the issue. I think that's what I love about web development. There's always problem solving involved. There's always something, even if you've done it before. I mean, it's still always a process. Now I'm just going to hit Command R for refresh. Yeah, now we can see kind of diagrammatically how everything is going to sort of plug in. That's really handy. And again, it matters that we know that this sort of mustard image is the slideshow image, because we can come over here and look here. There it is. And that's just a mustard image right now. But now we can actually get the info and we can see, okay, well, that image actually needs to be 1200 by 690 and 72 DPI in order for it to fit in this space like a glove. Okay. And you can change dimensions, I suppose, but obviously you need all your dimensions to be consistent in this space. I think it's interesting. They have some different formats for how they're plugging in some of these. I think when I did, when I kind of replaced the images, I was very, very consistent with a size because I wanted it to be like, to essentially be a modular grid, a wall of work. And so even if we go to some of these predefined pages like portfolio. Second, one moment, guys. Seems to be running a little slower. Oh, there it goes. Okay, so now we can see that this is a different type of image. Well, let's go back to our system here and track it down. Under pages, there's a section called portfolio. And look at that. Then we can, again, get the information. And we can see that those images are actually 1000 by 750 pixels and 72 DPI. And so if you're going to replace those images, you know what dimensions you need, right? And you can, if you're familiar with Adobe Illustrator, you can just simply create a file with an artboard that has those dimensions, right? Or you can crop a photograph with those dimensions in Photoshop. But in order to move forward and solve these visual problems, you need to know these basic pieces of information. It's going to be helpful. You can't just willy-nilly just put anything in there. It's not going to work that way. You've got to be methodical and you got to plan things out. Okay. So let's see here. Let's go back to the home page and take a look at what's going on. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change this little icon in the top left-hand corner. Right now it says F for Fluent, but that's not good enough for me. And so I'm going to go to the Fluent backend. So I'm going to click on Fluent theme, and under base outline, you should be able to come over here to, I think, styles. Yeah. Right here, see where it says logo? It's important to do this particular change on the base outline, and I'll tell you why. Remember, CSS stands for cascading style sheets. You want to make this foundational change at a very foundational level. In other words, at the base outline. You don't want to make this change a million times on each page that you create. You want to make it on the base outline because that's going to cascade into all of the other pages. And so all of your other pages will have the updated logo if you do it at the base outline level. And so that's really important to point out here. So I'm going to click on the gearbox, and here there's a little piece of text. I'm just going to enable that. And then I'm going to call this Bollinger. Real simple. Apply and save. And then you got to click Save Layout again. And then we can come back here, hit Command R for refresh. Now it's just going to simply say Bollinger. Let's do something else while we're there. I think if we're on base outline, we can go to styles. And I actually don't want to use this. I have never heard of that typeface and I want to get rid of it. I'm really a Helvetica Arial man for a lot of, I guess, design purposes. It just seems to work. And folks might agree with me saying that. They might disagree, but yeah, it works. And then also I always forget if I just want to make sure I'm spelling Arial right. Arial. Because remember, Arial and Helvetica are extraordinarily similar. And so I'm going to replace this with Arial. So it'll try to use Arial, then it'll try to use Helvetica. Actually, I'm actually going to put Helvetica first. So one moment, folks. This is kind of fun. You're kind of seeing these decisions being made real time. So I'll start with Helvetica. If that's not available, it'll be Arial. If that's not available, it'll be Tahoma. If that's not available, blah, blah, blah. And then finally, just any sans serif. So remember, that's cascading style sheets. That's how it works. If you want to change your background after you figure out the dimensions, and by the way, the background dimensions are, I'm just going to give you that number verbally right now, because you won't be able to download the image. So remember, it was not here in the rocket launcher section. It was in this previous section under backgrounds, main. And if we go to get info, so that background image that is currently live on the website, see this sort of magenta, that is 1200 by 690. Write that down, guys, 1200 by 690. And then you can come in here and change the background. And I don't know, I mean, on my website, I have a simple canvas background. And, you can go to Google and just type in canvas background. Go to images. You want to beef up the quality, high resolution, right? I don't want it to be a distraction, so I'm going to choose something very, very simple. Okay. There's a free canvas background. I don't like that one so much. Let's find the right one. Just for fun, I think that one looks okay. It's usable. Let's see what else is going on over here. That one. Now, and you can kind of see the dimensions here in this corner. That's 360 by 360. That's not going to do it. This one is pretty good size, 1000 by 725. I'm going to have to crop this thing in the corner out, but so I'm going to save that to my web folder. But in this circumstance, I'm just using my desktop. But you guys should be saving all of these assets in a web folder in a very methodical way. Now remember, we just figured out that we need 1200 by 690. Open this in Photoshop. Hit C for crop. 1200 by 690. And remember, we don't want that information in this corner down here. So I'm gonna just kind of eke this crop. Go that way. Okay. File, export, save for web, legacy. It's a little bit, the quality is a little lower, but I'm going to bump it up to 1200. And notice how when I cropped it at 1200 by 690, so when I just simply type in 1200 for the width, the height automatically corrects to 690 because it's the correct aspect ratio. Okay, I want to keep that a maximum, and the file size is pretty darn small. That's good. I'm going to rename this back.jpg. And again, I'm going to put this on my desktop. Now let's go back here. Let's see how we can get this guy uploaded. Well, if you click on this image icon, it's going to take you to your media folder, but you haven't uploaded it yet. So unfortunately, you got to actually exit the Fluent Theme backend temporarily, and you need to go to the WordPress backend for a moment. Before you do that, it doesn't hurt just to kind of save things, because we did update the Helvetica typeface. In fact, it's still reading the old typeface. Let's see how it looks after I hit refresh. A little bit, definitely I can see the change. It looks a little cleaner. Yeah, Helvetica it solves a lot of problems, trust me. It's beautiful. Okay, going back to media. Now, we need to add some new media. Simple as that. Click the add new icon, go to your desktop. Not this one, because remember we modified the background. We don't even need that anymore, but back.jpg is the one that we want. Now it's uploaded. Now we can go back to the Fluent Theme, back to base outline and styles. Now let's click this little icon, go to 2023, go to July 2023. Notice how we only uploaded one image, but WordPress actually compressed it in a lot of different versions. Don't use any of these dumbed down versions for the background. That's my advice. Use the full version over here. Select, save. It's running a little slow. I think that might be happening because students might be logged into their WordPress sites. So it might be slowing the hosting down a little bit. When that happens, you really just need to be patient and let it finish its thought. Just let it do its thing. Sometimes it's kind of tough because I can be a little bit impatient, frankly. Yeah, it's taking a while. There it is, it's still thinking. Funny because this updated, oh, there it is. So it did change. Okay. For some reason, I think it still might be thinking that. That's odd. Yeah. Do your best to try to be patient when this thing is thinking and trying to save, but it did populate just fine over here. So I think I would have preferred to find a background that is a little bit more detailed with a less granular canvas texture, but that's just me being nitpicky. So you can kind of see the large size accommodates for the different, if you're looking at this website on a phone or a device, you're not even going to see the canvas really, but if you look at it on an iPad or on a desktop, this thing is going to change accordingly. Let's do something else. Let's work on this slide area. And in order to do that, obviously I need to go back to the back end. First, I want to prepare, let's see, how many slides do I want to prepare? Do some thinking and planning. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can delete some of those, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to create 6 sliders, okay? And let's go back to images, pages, or excuse me, home, slideshow. And remember, this is going to tell us what those dimensions need to be. You can just kind of, on a Mac, it'll show you right down here, 1200 by 690. On a PC, I don't know, somehow you need to be able to access that information. On a Mac, you can also say get info, and on this little sort of info palette will pop up. So yeah, 1200 by 690. Okay, well, one of my other favorite tools is Bridge. So I'm going to launch Bridge if you've got it. And I'm going to try to get access to just some of my paintings because I want to find details of 5 different paintings that I think are really strong that I'd like to have on the front page of my website. And so, as stated earlier, you guys have heard me say this a million times, you need to have things organized and ready to go. Okay. And so, let's see, I'm going to go to 2012. I know I'm going to use one of these fault line paintings, and I have the full documented images, or like a full image, but it's not quite the right aspect ratio for that slide. And so that's why I'm going to use details that I've shot. So here's one detail. I'm going to open with Photoshop. And it's at 1200 690 already. And I'm going to file, export, save for web. You don't want to overwrite your original files, obviously. And by the way, did you see what happened there? It said 1200 by 690, but when I come over here to export, save for web, it's actually reading as 4252 by 2445, and that's just because the quality of these images is quite high. So I need to plug in 1200 and notice how, again, 1200 by 690 is just sort of working. I want the quality to be really good. You can see the size dropped drastically. Okay, so and I need what, 5 of these? So I'm going to call it slide -1. I'm going to put it on the desktop. Okay, and I'm not going to overwrite my original, so I'm going to hit don't save. Really, really important, of course. I'm just kind of going into my past a little bit here, having some fun. Let's go. I really proud of this piece. Caulfield. Got lots of different details, guys. So, I'm using Bridge to find these resources so I can take a look at them and decide which one is best. Let's use that one. I'm going to use the PSD file, not the JPEG. So open that guy up. Number 1200 by 690. File, export, save for web. Adjust it, because you need all of these to actually be 1200 by 690. I don't know why, but the quality was dropped to 80. It's actually, I think this is a much more kind of dense image to work with, and that's why the size it's a little bit higher. But this is a test website, so I'm just going to do it. But you need to be mindful of the size of these images. If this weren't a test website, I might think about ways to make this image a little bit smaller. And I already have slide 1 set up. And now I want to add slide 2. And again, I don't want to overwrite the original. So I've got 2 done, 3 more to go. It's kind of fun going into the past and just kind of finding things. Oh, let's see. You got to have good documentation. The truth is, some of this documentation I wouldn't mind correcting. Just for fun, I'm going to use one of these details. This is the painting. That's a smaller version of the painting right there. That's the full image, actually, and obviously that's not the right aspect ratio, but I do have these detail images of the painting. So there's detail 1 and detail 2. I'm going to use that detail. Open with Photoshop. adjust this one slightly. Or it's safe for web. Again, 1200 by 690. Desktop. I want this to be slide 3. Almost there, guys. I mean, this does take a while, trust me. Let's see. 2 more to find, right? Well, let's go to back up. That's why, I mean, having everything organized is really helpful, because then you can go straight to these project folders and find good stuff. Documentation. So those are nice, and there's details right there. I like this one right here. With Photoshop. Safe for web. Gotta make sure these images are in focus too, right? And that's going to be what, slide 4. Don't overwrite the original. Never do that. It's kind of interesting. I'm moving through this a little faster. Usually I'd be a much more deliberate, I suppose, with my decisions. You know, I mean, that's why folks are always updating a website, because things are changing. Back to 2021, see what I was doing in 2021. Detail for this one. This was kind of interesting. Here I would love to include maybe one of these where I'm holding a painting and it shows scale. The real truth is that the aspect ratio is not going to work for those guys. At least I don't think it would. If that's the one I want to use. Let's see about this. Patient. There's plenty of details there. I could use any of these. I guess I'm just probably killing a little bit of time. Way too much time, guys. Let's go back into the real past, to like 2010. Actually, I know which one I want to use. This was my architecture thesis project. And so I got some nice details here. I'm going to use that one. So yeah, you know, the better the documentation, you know, the better off you're going to be. Or safe for web. Well, that's interesting. Wait a second. Back up. Oh. Let's try that one more time. Or save for web. Work this time. No. Hold the phone. confused because that should be 1200 by 690. 1200. I'm a little dyslexic, guys. 1200 by 690. That's why I was confused. Okay, and this is the last slide. Slide 5. Boom. Don't save. Right? Okay. Now let's go back. I mean, that took a while, right? You know, we're just thinking about, okay, what images, we're thinking and planning about some images that we'd like to have on the front page of the website. Well, how do we get them in there? Okay. Well, we got to go over here to media again, add new. I'm going to drop all 5 of these images at the same time. And I've put them in a strategic location where I can find them. Slide 1 through 5, drag all of them over. All 5 of them are going to process. Look at that. All of them are 1200 by 690. Okay, they're up. Now we need to go back to the Fluent theme. And we need to go to the home, not base outline, but we need to go to the home page layout. Notice how on the home page layout, certain areas are locked. That's because it's basically saying, hey, don't make those changes here. You need to make those changes on the base outline. Okay, so it's kind of trying to help you. Now, the news slider, though, is where you do want to make some changes. So come over here and click the little gearbox. And then there's particle items. And actually, now I'm going to change all this to just, I'm going to turn it into something very simple. I'm just going to say 1, 2, and you know, if this were my final website, I would be, maybe it would be the title of the painting. But for these purposes, this is plenty. And remember, I only have 5, so I'm going to delete the last one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, if I want to change the image in this particle, click 1. And I actually don't want to use the avatar, so I'm going to hit that little X box. And I do want to use or replace the image, so I got to click the image icon. Over here to 2023. Things are organized according to date on WordPress. I just uploaded these, so it's going to be an 07/2023, and there they are. Remember, it's going to upload multiple different versions of all of these different slides. So I'll leave it up to you guys to decide which ones, but I'm going to upload the full quality, guys. So I'm going to do it in order to 1. And add links too. Notice how there's a £sign here. We're not quite ready to do that yet, though, right? Okay. I don't want the date there. I don't need this stuff here. So I'm going to modify that information slightly. And I don't want the category to be there either, but notice how, see, it says article. If you come on the front page, look at it says article right there. And I don't feel that I need that. So I'm going to get rid of it. Okay. And I'm going to come over here to 2. Practice some similar changes. Add the image. Let's see. 1, 2. Remember, I don't want to have the date or any of this. And I don't need that. I want to keep the signs, but the real truth is I'll modify that later when I've created some pages. And so that's a placeholder currently. Page 3. Right? You know this drill. A lot of repetition in web development. 1, 2, 3. Don't want any of this stuff. Why? And by the way, I haven't saved yet. I'll get to that here in a second because I still have some other changes to make. 2023, July. Slide 4. Date, make that none. Get rid of that. Okay, that's looking good. Why? This is the last one, right? Just connecting these dots, and I also want things to be very, very consistent, right? Slide 5. Okay, I've added all the images and made the changes consistently on all of those slides. Apply and save. And I'm going to come up here and say save layout. And it worked really quickly there. You might notice too. I'm going to come over here and hit Command R to refresh so I can see the changes. And so you can see the text changed over here to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And all of those are now populated within that module or page. Pretty cool, huh? The other thing that you can do, which is kind of nifty, is you can change the order. And so if you come over to particle items, let's say I want this one to be up top, just drag it. Apply and save. Save. Command R for refresh. So now number 5 is going to be up top. So this is a very fluid system. Real beautiful and simple. Let's talk about social media for a second. I don't have a lot of these. I only have Instagram and Facebook. So, but we make that change. Let's see here. So you don't make that change here at home. You actually make that change at the base outline. And again, because we want that change to occur on all of the pages, that's why it's available here. And so click on the gear, and then you're going to get access to all of these different social media icon options. I don't have Pinterest. I don't currently have Vimeo. I'm not a Twitter guy. It's a little too volatile for me personally, but you know, it's also a really good marketing tool. Delete. I do have Facebook. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to my live website. Whoops. It's kind of funny. It still brings up my Joomla. So there's my Instagram. And all I got to do is click on Instagram to make the change and change the link. Simple as that. So easy. Same with Facebook. Oops, I actually got them mixed up. Made a mistake. Correct that. Oops. These things happen, right? Has to be the full URL too, by the way. Apply and save. And let's come over here, check our work, right? It's really important. Notice how it's just Facebook and Instagram now. If I click on that, it's going to, I mean, that's really good because folks, you know, social media will filter out spam. You won't get as much spam if you use social media as a contact method. Okay. So yeah, we've modified the slider. This is a whole nother realm that we can kind of play around with. I think because I'm just going to do 5. Okay. And yeah. You can create different, I mean, this is really interesting too. You can have different categories. So like, you know, maybe one is painting, maybe one is drawing, or if you're a graphic design major, maybe one category is illustration, another one is like, you know, user experience or, you know, industrial design or, you know, whatever, you know, you can kind of organize whatever you're doing. Actually, on my website, I organize things according to date, you know, so folks can see a little bit about what I've been doing, you know, in certain periods of time. You know, this is a real old painting of mine from 2001, believe it or not. So that's how I chose to use that particular module. You guys can decide on your own how it works for you and your overall vision. But going on the back end again, if you go to the home page, you can find the access point for the case studies. And notice how it kind of makes sense. You know, above is the new slider, below that is the case studies. Click on the gearbox, and then we can, yeah, it's, I mean, I'm actually going to simplify this because the scale and scope of this test website is a little bit smaller. So let's see, I'm just going to say, name one, fabrication. And I'm going to name another sort of like collage. And I'm going to add another one. What the heck? Painting. I mean, really, all these things are always kind of similar to me, but I mean, again, I'm just trying to show you guys some options. You can change the columns. You can change a few things here too. I think 4 columns works pretty well on that front. So if I click on fabrication, okay, they're all, look at all these guys. I don't need all of those currently. So I would have to go in and change some of the text, edit some of the text, and then maybe delete some of them. But then you can click into them where you can find the option to upload a new image. Okay, I'm going to do that just, you know, for the, let me show you guys. Okay, you know, this is relatively easy because I kind of know where everything is, right? So, but for art design, I know that one of my paintings that I'm using is right here. And I'm using InDesign to sort of create these collages. Okay. And I'm gonna just export these really fast, guys. I'm trying to move quickly for you all. Notice how like the image is dumbed down, but you know, when it exports, it's gonna look a lot better. So I'm gonna export, export a JPEG. And then I'm gonna call this, let's see, I just want to be consistent. That was, thinking a little slowly. Let's slide 4. I'm going to rename this. I'm going to call it comp or composite 4. And put that on the desktop too. And look, you can export things at 72 DPI as well. Out of InDesign, rather. Okay, so there's that one. Let me go back to 2012. I think it was, which one? I think I'm pretty sure it was that one, but I suppose I can really easily just double check, can't I? Yeah, there's that one. And there is a composite file for this one as well. There it is. And that was comp-1. So I'm trying to be mindful as far as how I'm labeling things so I can stay essentially organized. I know I'm well aware that not everyone has experience using InDesign quite yet, but I mean, it's just good to know. You guys don't have to composite your images. You can just crop your images. You guys can use whatever tools or abilities that are available to you currently to solve these problems. I'm kind of just showing you how I solve these problems, okay? So I'm going to save that to the desktop, 72 PPI. Let's see what other. So, okay, let's go to 2018. That's my Caulfield painting. Just keep in mind, I mean, I know where all this stuff is. And hopefully you guys will learn to develop the systems so that you can do something similar. So I even have all these files already made, you know, like a lot of stuff is just ready to rock and roll for me. Because I've been doing this previously and I saved things, simple as that. Okay, that needs to be comp 2. I'm gonna put that on the desktop. What's next? My exploded axon painting. Okay, that was 2019. There were 3 exploded axon pieces. Make sure I choose the right one. Let's be the 3rd one. And I hope you guys don't mind just kind of listening to me ramble. But I really do, you know, I'm hoping that this detailed process is valuable for you. Oh, looks like one of these is missing. So I got to try to, here's a quick InDesign adventure. I have to reconnect the link. I think they're actually all. Process exploded. See it right there. Open. Okay. Now I'm ready to export. Export. Remember comp 3. I'm just trying to coordinate naming conventions here. Comp 3. JPEG. Desktop. 72 DPI. Export. I think we only need this last one. I know exactly where that painting is. 110, believe it or not, that was 12 years ago. Life moves quick. And there's the combined. Yes, update modified links. Interesting. Export. JPEG desktop comp 5, right? Remember, you guys can kind of see that some of these files that I have pre-made, they have some of that SEO information embedded into the titles along with my last name and a catalog number. That's just me, how I do things. So if anyone does download an image, at least my name is on it, right? But it's really hard to control folks capturing or stealing information online. I have to remind you and myself, you know, we're not Andy Warhol here. We're hoping to get rich and famous, you know, but really if someone steals a JPEG image, you know, they're probably going to market it somewhere and hopefully give you credit. And so I wouldn't nitpick about those things so much. I would remain focused on just being productive and making more work instead of worrying about the work that you've already made. That's just a piece of advice then. Okay, so it took a little while. You know, this does take some time, guys. Now, I need to get these up on, I need to do the same thing I did before where I have to add this imagery. I know all of those images are sitting on the desktop waiting for me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Plug them in. Now, that's my existing website. You can kind of see there's You just witnessed exactly what I'm doing here, but I'm doing it at a smaller, more reasonable scale here, right? Okay, so now I'm going to go back to the Fluent backend. I'm going to click on the home page layout and case studies. Click on the gearbox, the blue one. And oop, I didn't save last time, did I? Interesting. Okay. Just kind of using a few terms. That's good enough for now. Okay, guys. I am going to apply. See, now it remains. And so under collage, I don't need all of these guys. So I'm going to put comp2. Like, you know, they give you all this extra stuff and you may or may not want it. You have to sort of experiment. We don't know the URL yet, so just plug in a pound sign. And you don't want a new window because you're not going to another website. You're staying within your own website. And so I'm going to change that to self instead of opening a new browser window. And then I need to connect with the image that I just uploaded. Okay. And I know I want it to be this guy right here, comp2. And I'm going to change this to comp2 just so I can stay organized. Fabrication. Let's see. I know this one needs to be comp5. And then I don't need any of these others. Comp5. And then you can see these are a little bit different. And you have to decide a consistent way to present that information. I'll leave that up to you right now. I need to connect the image. And that's pretty easy because we've already uploaded those guys. There it is, comp5. Select self. I don't want to connect to Rocket Theme. I want it to be, I have to discover that later. Okay. And I don't need the subtitle. I'm going to remove that. Just because I can wait, darn it. I can be a little impatient, guys. But that's really, should be a separate painting category. But these two are in the exploded category. So comp3, I'll start with that one. Comp3. And comp4. I don't want these other two for the time being. You can add, it's real simple. You just, there's the little icon right there. Just add another one if you want it. Or you can duplicate an existing two, which is pretty handy. So comp3. Make sure I'm selecting the right image. That's the exploded green piece. No text. Pound sign. Self. Blah, blah, blah. Apply. Comp4. Yeah, you guys can see how simple this is. It's really, it is not complicated at all after you get the hang of it. Okay. But you know, a lot of folks, they get intimidated by this, and that's exactly why they want to hire someone to do it. Track our work. That's the fun part. Okay, so I've got 4 uploaded so far. Actually, I need to add another category. I'm not comfortable. I need a painting category, so I need to hit plus. Painting. Plus sign. And what was that? Comp 1, right? Yeah. One. Y. Great. Get back in there. Edit. Comp 1. Select save. Add the URL, which is just a pound sign right now. We want it to be self, yada, yada, yada. Looks good. Y and save. Check your work. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we left this text there. Actually, no. It's, see how the text is on the bottom for those three, but at the top for these two. And so, at some point I'll probably want to change this so it's all consistent. But for me, I like, just this modular grid, and at some point I'm going to create some pages so you can click on this image and it'll take you directly to that page within the website architecture or structure. That's my overall goal here. Okay. But those are 5 paintings that I'm going to be working with for this particular project. Notice how I'm not even talking about the menu yet, guys. We're just talking a little bit about a few changes that you can make on the front page of the website. All right. Now, this is something that I'm not going to use. It's an example of something that's just, it's really great for the theme, but it's just not relevant for what I'm doing. Same with, I guess you could use this to showcase some details of some drawings or paintings. And so you also know the dimension. Remember, if we go back to the home page, where is it? It's right there. Get info. That particular image, it looks like it's going to be I'm looking in the wrong place. This is an example of how things can get a little confusing. Remember, rocket launcher is where we wanted to be looking. Yeah, now that makes sense. It's the extension. This is the one. That's why, you really got to be attentive to all these details. It gets confusing fast. So the dimensions of this area right here are 1200 by 513. So keep that in mind when you're using Photoshop or developing assets, or just simply cropping a photo, but it needs to be 1200 by 513. Being aware of pixel dimensions of assets is very, very important. Okay, so if you did want to, let's say I don't want this. I'm gonna get rid of it right now. So again, I'm looking at the home page section. We modified news slider, we modified case studies, and we can continue to add to it. And look at here, there's info list and then testimonial slider. But we don't need it. So I'm just going to turn it off. See that little green button right there? You just turn it off. Turn it off. Boom. Simple as that. Now I go back to my front page. It's gone. Some of this stuff you just don't need. This pricing table particle, I don't need that. It's the next thing I'm gonna get rid of. I definitely don't want that. That's just not me for what I'm doing. Now, if you're a graphic designer and you're putting together a page for different tiers of website development with prepackaged prices, heck yeah, that could be useful because you want people to know how much you want to charge. Because you're running a business, you're trying to pay bills. Okay, that kind of thing can be very, very useful. If I refresh, pricing table's gone now. Boom. I don't particularly want to use this. You can leave it, you can set it up. I'll leave that up to you guys. I think you're getting the gist of it, that you can go in and intuitively figure this stuff out. The vertical slider is the one that we were just looking at. And I think that actually can be pretty handy. So item 1 through 6, if you look here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, there's 6 of those set up right now. I didn't end up using this on my main website, but you could change the text here to make it basically just be like, it could be anything. It could be process. It could be things that you're working on. It could, the sky's the limit. So I think there is some real nice potential here. Okay. And then if you want to change your there's a primary menu, but then there's also a secondary menu. And I'll show you guys what I did with my secondary menu down here. Look at, I just simply changed the words, right? So recent works that I've completed, which obviously needs to be updated. Archives for bodies of work, within a 5-year period. If someone wants to go to my CV quickly, and obviously you guys are pretty good at HTML right at this point, so you can plug in some of your HTML code onto a CV page. That probably should be part of your web architecture, right? And then more shortcut links to some social media. So all this stuff can be changed. Just kind of depends on what you want to do. That's working with the front page. Okay, I will upload a zipped copy of the rocket launcher images so that you can, in all honesty, maybe kind of see where I started with those diagrammatic images and how they also fit into some of these pages. For example, if you go to the portfolio page, which is handy, I think these are great possibilities to put recently completed works that you're really proud of. So you can kind of see the connections there as well. If we go to pages, portfolio, there are the green images for the footer. And here are the sort of turquoise, bluish kind of seafoam images right there, 1, 2, 3, 4. And of course, that's useful. Why? Because you need to know what the dimensions are. And that's 1000 by 750 for those guys. So we're just connecting dots here, guys. We're starting to think strategically. But again, you need a web architecture plan and you need some assets. You need to start thinking about all your paintings and drawings and projects, locating those assets and putting them in a location where you can find those assets and you can work with them and plug them back into your portfolio website. What good is doing the work if you're not documenting it, guys? This is your career. This is your career, for God's sake. Okay, this is not just a fun hobby. This is your career. So I'm saying that with a firm voice. This is your career. This is your career. It's not a hobby. You're trying to make some money doing this stuff. So get organized and get serious. And these are just kind of not, this is the way I solve that problem. So I can have these sorts of things just kind of waiting for me. And I might change it a little bit later. This is not the end all be all. But I'll give you an example. Like even today, I was doing a little bit of marketing on my own. And I use InDesign to create Instagram stories. And so this is a similar painting to what I was just showing you. Here's the full detail shot. Here's a detail. And here's some contextual images about the experience that informed the painting. All of these assets were located in one folder. Okay. You need to start thinking that way. I mean, essentially what I'm doing right now is I'm showing you, hey, this idea of organizing your assets, it's valuable for your web portfolio, but it's also valuable for your marketing campaign for yourself and your business. You got to know where the stuff is, and you need beautiful documentation. You can't, put this stuff on on the back of your bedroom door, with bad lighting, and then snap a photo that's from the far corner. You got to really set this stuff up. You're going to be learning how to slowly massage all of these assets to really represent the best image of yourself online as possible. I want to take a step back and just talk about, look here. I mean, we really haven't even touched on creating pages yet. Okay. And I'm going to create one page for this video. Maybe two. I don't know. I know we've been doing this for a little while. This video went on a little longer than I thought it would, but that's okay. You guys, I know this stuff very well, and you're just learning this stuff. The only way you'll really hammer this business into your head is by doing it multiple times. Thankfully, you're going to be creating multiple pages. Okay. So in fact, I'm gonna create one page for this video, and then I'm gonna create the remaining pages during the next video. Okay. So I'm gonna create one page for this piece right here. Okay. So let's go ahead. Go back to the first. I got to apply and save. I want to make sure I don't leave anything that any work that I've done behind. Sometimes you don't want to save though. There's a circumstance where you don't want to save. We'll get to that as well, but we're not there yet. But let's go back to our WordPress backend, click on pages. Look at all these pages that are already there. Well, I want to create a page for a piece of artwork. Add new. Believe it or not, you're not going to be putting any content here. You don't need to worry about any of that stuff. You do need to add a title. That's about it. Okay. And remember, if you guys have web architecture already set up, boy, you're lucky. So let's see, I got to go to got to have all this stuff ready to go. Remember, I told you, I said, you're going to need to do this. Yeah, there it is. There it is. Remember, I've got all this stuff organized. I know exactly where to go. BOL 21012. That's the page I'm going to make. And what does it say here? Menu, page title, H1. All I got to do is come over here, copy and paste. Boom. Add title. I'm not going to publish it yet. I'm going to save a draft. Now, here's another thing that's really kind of handy. And it requires a little bit of foresight or forethought or planning. Well, it might be easier if I show you what I've done on my website already. So hold on. Pause because I don't want to give any indication regarding my password. One moment. Wait. Okay, guys, so we're on the back end of my website. I wanted to just click on page, it should look, my dashboard looks a little bit different. You kind of see some of the analytics, sort of fun. We're not worried about that right now, okay? Go to pages. And let's say, like, I don't know, let's click on, this is something recently, that's my most recent page that I made. And by the way, look at, my SEO is doing a little better for these. I need to go in, I need to do a lot of SEO work, you guys. But if I click on this page, notice how the only thing that you're really going to see is the title. But if you look over here, there are some parent pages. So I'm starting to create essentially a web architecture hierarchy, okay, for how these guys connect. And I'm doing that over here. I just wanted to point that out. That was the main thing I wanted to point out, okay? So at some point you do need to be aware of quote unquote parent pages and categories, all right? For the purpose of this existing and in progress website, it's a little less important. But one thing I would do is I would make this page a child of the portfolio page that's already existing. Okay, and so I'm doing that right there. And then I can save the draft again. In fact, I can just publish. In fact, I do want to publish. And I want to go back. I just want to make sure that everything is looking good. You click that little date button right there, you can essentially show the most recently created pages, which can be very handy. Then you can also come over here and click quick edit to make some changes. I want to keep the title as it is, but actually I don't want the slug. Remember, I don't want the slug to be that long drawn out piece of information. So I'm going to use this abbreviated catalog number. And I can change the slug right here. So the slug will appear in the browser URL window, okay? And here you can see it also says that the parent page is portfolio. That's good. Update. Okay, so we've created a page on the WordPress backend. I want you guys to just follow along really carefully. I'm going to back up. All I did when you want to create a page, you just click add new. You plug in the title. You save it as a draft. You make sure that your page attributes, i.e. the parent page or the web architecture, seems to be working. It'll even give you a preview, see that? Of the URL and where it's going to be located. It's pretty handy. Save it as a draft. And then you can take a look at that draft and update things and plug in the slug or change the slug if necessary. Make sure everything is the way that you want it. And then you do want to make sure that eventually it is published, okay? And currently this page is quote unquote published. So it's available online. You know that it's available online by, guess what? You can click on, actually go to that page. Of course, there's nothing there right now, but you can, like, you created, there's the slug right there, BOL-210-12. You created a location for some new content. Now you don't add images or text or anything here, believe it or not. You published the page. Now it's really ready to accept information where? On the Fluent theme backend, actually, okay? Now this is a little tricky, and please pay attention. And that's why we're just going to do it once for this video. And I really only want you to create one page and successfully create one page, all right? You need to go, there are some base outlines to work with. Left sidebar, right sidebar, full width. So see all these layouts? It's really handy. The one that I want you guys to use is right sidebar. And I just want you to be aware that those layouts are there. We're not going to change any of those pre-existing layouts. What we're going to do is we're going to come over here to outlines. And let me slow down. Here in the top right-hand corner, there's an icon or a location that says outlines. Click on that. Go down and find the right sidebar outline. We don't want to edit that right sidebar outline. We want to duplicate it. So the one in the middle, do not edit that guy and don't trash it either. Duplicate it. Got to give it a new title. Well, convenient title to me is the slug. Copy that. Go back. Plug it in. Inherit every section, yada, yada, yada. Yes, because we want it to be the same. Okay. Refresh. What do you know? Here it is. But now we need this outline talking to that page that we just created, right? How do we do that? Well, I'm going to show you. Click back to setup. Come over here. Click. Now you can see, by the way, just kind of back up, give you a little bit of context. Here's the base outline. Here are all these pre-existing layouts that, and we just duplicated one of them to create BOL-210-12. Now I'm going to actually go to that new layout for some content. But I need to assign it. Okay. Oh, it's a little complicated. And I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit actually with this, but I can't not show this to you. Also, when you're on this assignment page, you need to be really kind of gentle and careful not to accidentally flip any of these on or off. So you need to use that measured caution that I'm always discussing. That this is definitely a place to practice that. And if you scroll all the way down, you'll see pages. Well, that page, let's see if we can find it. There it is right there. We want this theme page talking to this WordPress page that we just made over here, right? So we just got to simply turn it on and then save assignment. Just for fun. Don't need that anymore. Close all that out. Now I'm going to hit refresh. See if anything is different. Yes. Now look at all that. Now all of that prepackaged content, it came along for the ride. Okay. Now, unfortunately, we're going to have to go back and change this. Sometimes these things happen. It has to do with inheritance. And so you'll have to change that to, or I will, to Bollinger. But I can do that really simply by going to this outline, the layout. I remember I'm gonna have to break some rules here, and I got to get in. I'm gonna break the inheritance thing here. So no inheritance. Apply and save. Logo. Break the inheritance. Okay. Now I need to click the blue gearbox. Getting there, guys. Pretty simple. I just need to change this to Bollinger. Now, next time you need to create another sidebar, you're not going to inherit from right sidebar, you're actually going to inherit or duplicate this page for those future pages, if that makes sense. But for the time being, just duplicate or just create one page. Okay, and you might have to rewind this video to do it again, but that's fine. Save layout. Now let's test it again. It's thinking. Okay, so there's that. I'll leave it up to you, whether you keep this. I don't keep this. I actually disable this on my pages because I want to be able to manually plug in content. But you can see there's the H2s and the H3s and the H4s and the paragraph text. It's all there. And so it's something that you can work with. Okay. We're not plugging in images yet. We just simply created a page. If you guys can get to this point, then I'll be very, very happy. Don't try to add any images or do anything to a page so far. If you get far enough where you've made some real nice changes to the front page of the website, then that's really good. And if you created one page, and if you created that page, or if you've created a communication with that page as far as the WordPress and the theme, then you're doing just fine. But I'm going to do it one more time. Okay, just so that you guys can see the process. So I'm going to create. I want to create a page. I've decided I want to create a page. I'm going to go over here to Pages on the WordPress backend. I'm going to click Add New. I am working with only 5 images, and all I need to do is go over here to Exploded Axon 3. That's going to be the title of my page. I want this page to have portfolio, the portfolio page as its parent. And by the way, you can kind of see that the other page that I've also created, you could see that in the scheme of things. So again, that web architecture stuff is really important. I'm going to publish. I'm going to back up. I want to look at that page again because I need to change the slug of that page. So I'm going to click on Quick Edit. Where can I find the slug for my web architecture? Well, on my plan. Exploded Axon 3 is BOL 21910. Copy. Update the slug. Yep, everything's looking good. Update, boom. Now, again, you can check to see that the page is working. Click on it. Here's that live URL. It'll take you there. Page isn't very exciting right now, is it? Now, we need to go back to the theme backend because we need to set up a circumstance where this page is going to talk to the Fluent layout that we're about to create. Click on Fluent Theme. Click on Outlines up in the top right-hand corner. Don't duplicate from right sidebar this time. Where is it? Don't duplicate this one because this was your original. Now you can start duplicating these pages into the next page, if that makes sense. So don't edit, duplicate. Same thing. I'm going to grab this catalog number. That's just how I've set it up. You're going to have to find. That's why I said, web architecture is really important. Okay. Plug it in. Confirm. All right, there it is. Now back to setup. Okay. Now we need to actually go to BOL 219.10. We need to assign it. Here's the assignment button right there. Click on it. Very gently scroll down. Here it says pages right there. There it is. Exploded axon 3. Turn that puppy on. Save assignments. Check your work. Same exact thing. So we're basically creating a format to plug in portfolio content at some point. We're not ready to do that. Just simply create 1 or 2 pages, okay? But before you even do that, obviously you've got to have your web architecture sort of worked out. Remember, I told you how important that was regarding the last video. And so now you understand why it's important. If you just create 2 pages for right now, that's plenty. That's all you need to do. So the 2 big things for project 3, work on and understand your front page a little bit and have some vision for what you want it to look like. Don't even think about this menu business. You don't need to worry about that right now. You might want to update this social media stuff. I showed you how to do that earlier. Update your logo, maybe with just your last name. Keep it simple. I'm only going to be working with 5 projects for this website, guys. You guys are probably going to be thinking about quite a few more because the scope and context of your website is going to be much larger, okay? But think about categories. Think about your art practice. Think about your design practice and how all the parts fit and work together. And essentially just dream about, what you want things to be. And remember, you can do a lot of dreaming with web architecture, okay? We'll get to these other pages later. It is pretty, by the way, you can't access these pages that you've made. You can't, the only way that you can get to those pages is from here currently, because you haven't set up the menu navigation yet. But like I said, we're not quite there yet. Just create the pages. And then if you want to see that they're working, you simply come over here, click on it. URL, click on it. And that's going to pop this up and that'll allow you to open it in a new page. That's exactly what yours should look like right now. And also notice that my slug, it doesn't say, exploded axon 3. It says BOL-210-12. Okay. Because otherwise my URLs would just be ridiculously long. I know this is a lot. This was, just thankfully this is recorded through YouTube and you can watch this over and over again. And you can kind of see those 2 circumstances where I'm making a page and establishing the connection between WordPress and the theme. Be very methodical about it. In fact, write things down, take some notes, okay? See you guys at the next video and good luck. Thank you.